Hey everyone, welcome back to the Work and Dirt channel. So it's been about, I would say 2 weeks-ish since a fire broke out close to our house. And they just now today finally got somewhat of a line contained on the edge that's closest to us, which makes us feel better. But I thought this is a good time to actually speak with someone who has professional experience wildland fighting, which is Remington here.
I used to be a firefighter. I was a wildland firefighter for 10 years. On a hotshot crew, and now I do Firewise landscaping.
So we did some preparation around our land, but I want to ask him, what else can I do? What did I do wrong, or what can we improve on? Because I'm sure there's plenty of you that might be moving into the country right now that just are kind of, you know, clueless as far as how you should protect yourself from a fire. I mean, we know it's hot and water puts it out, but there's plenty more beyond that.
Yeah, I mean, so the first 100 foot, your 100 foot defensible space, and the way I look at managing land is you try to make it look like a fire went through it already, right? Like you're trying to,
sure.
And it's kind of easier to visualize. So that's how I look at my property and when I talk to people.
Okay.
Rock mulch around the house, like right next to the house, is great because it doesn't burn, right? And then, you know, plants that aren't flammable, so you can do succulents, you can do stuff like that, that helps a lot.
Okay.
So you don't want to do oily plants like rosemary and anything that, if you like, you can kind of sense if it has oil in it, but if it's aromatic.
Drop it on your car or aromatic.
Yeah. Okay. Those are volatile oils, so
that makes sense.
You're really looking for, you want to get rid of the dead and down. And then the duff the forest litter, I guess you can call it, that'll burn if you can deal with that. That's like the last, for me, that's the last stage.
What's the duffel? Like just like ground brush or something?
No, just like the down leaves, like if you we can walk over, and if you put your hand down, you can like pick up a bunch of organic matter. That stuff's gonna burn too. But, but it burns not quite as intensely as like a big old log or something like that.
Okay. What, Remington, is like the absolute, like maybe few things that someone should first think about if they want to stay and defend their house?
I would never recommend anybody to stay like on a wall of fire. It just depends on the wind.
The wind
and how fast it's moving. If it's like that one day that it made the big push, there's nothing anybody can do.
So they know how fast did that creep or
the second day of the fire, the day that it really blew up, and it was like, it moved like 6 miles in one day. Yeah. I'm out of there too. You know what I mean? Like I'm not staying for that. There's not a lot you can do at that point. But a backing fire in the situation that we're at, like now, as long as there's not super strong winds, being there does help, because you don't have the stand density that they had up
where
there.
They're up against pine trees and brush. So,
it depends on your surrounding area and how thick your canopy is.
Our pool is about 28,000 gallons, and I heard obviously if you can get a pump that can make good use of it, it'd be good. So we got a 100-foot hose with a pump that does about 160 gallons per minute. Our plan was to spray the house and look for ambers floating, from what I hear.
Right.
So is a garden hose enough to do that same thing?
We do a lot, and what is pretty common practice is you can just mount like impact sprinklers or any kind of sprinkler on your roof, and just run that off a garden hose.
Okay.
And if there's an ember storm or embers coming down, that can kind of just wet everything down. And when the embers hit, they hit something wet, right?
Yeah.
It's a pretty good investment.
So they actually probably sell rooftop sprinklers, right?
Yeah, sure. There's kits.
Okay. Cool. Well, let's go cruise around the property. I want to show him some things and see what he says about that.
Oh, did you make me a little seat back here?
Yeah, I made you a little seat. This right here, I did some grading here.
Yeah.
And we have a sprinkler on the top of the house right there, but does that look like 100 feet to?
Well, you have a good buffer. That's probably, I don't know, 50, 60 feet, but is that your property?
No, that's their property.
See, there's nothing you can do about it, right?
Yeah.
So you do what you can.
Gotcha.
And you know, if your neighbors don't cooperate, that's a bummer. But that grass over there is not too tall, and you know, even if that burned, that's not going to push the house. And what would be a concern is for, like you're talking about, embers.
Okay, and could you stand the heat if those were all scorching right now from right here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless the winds are blowing right in your face. If it was like, you know, 4 or 5 mile an hour wind, something like that, and they're just burning, you'd be fine.
Okay. So these are wood chips that we got that we were planning on spreading by the campsites.
Yeah.
And these are also the same threat you're talking about, like a mild threat. They're far enough from the house right now.
It's so much better than having a, like if you had chipped all this, if there was a bunch here, and that, like that on my property, that's what I did. I just made chips piles everywhere, and if they burn, they're just gonna smolder.
Gotcha.
They're just gonna smolder for like days until
Gotcha.
you put it out.
Okay.
But they're not gonna like throw up embers. They're not gonna, you know,
throw
big
huge
flame.
flames.
Yeah, no.
Can you mention again about the clothing, having non-flammable clothing? So not to wear, I'm guessing, cotton, and what else should you not wear,
cotton
and what you
is
should
okay.
wear?
Cotton base layer is okay. I mean, if you can get your hands on some Nomex like pants and shirt, that's what firefighters wear, is Nomex.
Nomex. Okay.
I read
and-
polyester.
But you would not want to wear polyester.
Oh.
Not polyester.
Oh.
Yeah, because that's like, it's like a plastic.
Or
It's like a plastic.
nylon.
Nylon you wouldn't want to wear because that melts. Even elastic, I've heard stories about guys like, you know, the hem,
band.
the
Yeah.
hem on their underwear melted.
Oh.
You know, because
So
they're
hot.
really, really close. Like
Yeah,
really. You
sure.
wouldn't just if there was a fire over there, you wouldn't. But that kind of stuff can, you know, go from. You can go from having like a close call to, you know, a real emergency. So yeah, what I would always wear is wool socks and full leather boots and
Full
you know,
leather boots. Okay.
yeah, no liner or anything even.
Good old cowhide.
Yeah,
Isn't that
yeah.
amazing? Natural products.
Yep.
That's freaking awesome. So besides defending directly behind the home, I was hoping we can create like a second barrier or defense. And we have, being that this is a campsite, kind of this first loop, which goes like in a U. It goes right here and right through those wood chip piles around. And so I've looked above, and if you follow, there's a loop except for this branch I wanted to remove. And if we remove that, I was trying to at least, I know it's probably not enough, like 50 feet, having this 50, if you continue to go around this road loop, there's like maybe 50 feet in some areas. And I was trying to continue that just to slow momentum or something, but is...
Yeah, you know, like I look at this and I see a lot of, so you really need the ground fuels to carry a crown fire, like or tight spacing, and you have pretty good spacing on the trees and their oaks, so they kind of need a lot of heat from the ground to burn up.
Crown fire, can you define a crown fire?
A crown fire is a fire up in the canopy of a tree. A running crown fire is the bigger one though. The running crown fire is when it's going from crown to crown to crown to crown.
Okay. Okay.
The running crown fire is like the wall of fire that I was talking about earlier. There's not a lot. If you have a running crown fire, you kind of just sit back and
just
watch.
Too
it.
much momentum.
Like there's just not. The only thing you could have done was years ago cleaning up all the understory and giving yourself better spacing.
Gotcha. Okay.
If you have a running crown fire, you just kind of watch it. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it.
Okay.
But you've set yourself up in a good situation to have bigger spacing and to prevent that.
Okay.
It's about what you're doing for prevention. You're trying to mimic what a fire does when it goes through. It takes out the smaller trees. It doesn't take out a big beautiful oak. You know what I mean? It takes out little pines and little firs and you know the trees that maybe have dead branches up top or have a broken top, stuff like that.
Gotcha.
So,
okay.
really, to me, prepping for fire is mimicking fire, and you're doing the fire's work.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
That little things you could do would be to limb that up a little further. You know, those branches they call it
kind
ladder
of veed out
yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff. Okay.
Well, no, the pine there.
Oh,
Just
the pine.
The dead branches.
Yes.
Limb that up as high as you can.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because that'll prevent fire from getting up in the canopy.
Okay. So clean.
Which you've done a lot already. It's just, you know,
Yeah.
that's one that I can see.
Another big question. If you guys have firewood close to the house, I'm guessing that's probably not good to be close to the house. So we moved all our firewood from doing all this pruning and cutting out to the corner of our property, and we graded this yard and got, you know, a bunch of dirt surrounded. I got to do a little more next to their house to make a good clearing, and then we put tops to prevent embers going into the totes. But is this, in your mind, a good position? You know, I know pallets are pretty. Should we cover this?
No, I think this looks pretty good to me. I mean,
okay, because I was thinking about if I had time. Of course, you can never do them enough, right?
Right.
Like putting scoops of dirt on like everything, and then I would have a huge mess to clean up after. And I was like,
yeah,
should I?
It's far enough away from the house. I think you're okay.
And of course, we put the propane tanks. I would like to put some shade over them, but we put those away from the house as well.
Yeah.
And then that's our neighbor's house, which that's where our closest fire threat on this south side is.
Yeah.
So we did have a field, and obviously we put our equipment with a hose that hopefully we could set. I was gonna put a sprinkler on top of our RV, but that looks like good space, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
With just looking out for
I would maybe close that vent.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. So close vents and openings to it. Yeah. Fun little ride, huh?
Yeah. I didn't realize, I've been thinking about getting
one of these. Yeah, they can go everywhere.
Another big question, I thought, okay, water is great, but if you run out of water, then you're screwed. And then I was thinking, okay, what about our water tank? Because if that melts, then we're just down to our pool. Luckily, it's a good sized pool. But my thought was to remove, you know, I know heat rises, so if I remove trees, I want to know how much I should probably, because the heat goes up hills. I mean, how much protection do you think we should give it if we even, you know?
Yeah. So this is sort of anecdotal, but I learned in when I was a firefighter, you can boil an egg in water in a styrofoam cup directly in the fire, and the styrofoam won't melt.
In the styrofoam cup.
You can just put it on directly on the coals. Because the water won't let it get hotter the melting point of the styrofoam. If it doesn't melt, it can't burn. So I think your water. I mean, I don't know. But I don't think your water tank is going to...
Based off that concept.
Yeah.
Because the heat capacity of the water doesn't let it get that higher.
What comes to mind then is only that major crown situation you're talking about where it's got so much momentum and heat.
But even then, all your water would be gone because it literally, the water has to evaporate before it can get above 212 degrees.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's yeah. Wow, that's good information. But we'll still...
I mean, when I was thinking is just, you know, your road and this is all your property. You can, I mean, not this year, but you know, you can work on, you know, getting this lifted up and thinned out. This would be like, if your house looked like this, I'd be concerned. Yeah. Right? Like
go home.
This is
or
like,
go
this
out
is what. Yeah.
Leave.
Yeah.
I noticed. You know, we try not to do anything unless we have water close by. And when I was cutting some logs, I wet the ground before, and I was noticing little sparks because some of the oak was so dry and you got the friction. I made sure my bar on my chain, my saw was oiled and everything, but even with that, and I wasn't even putting a lot of pressure on my saw, I saw little sparks going out from the chain. Not a bunch, but enough. They landed on the ground for a second. So keep water close by everywhere, huh?
Yeah, well, and a lot of fires start from people welding, you know, string trimming, all that kind of stuff. Welding, I don't understand. I've been on a lot of fires that start by somebody welding.
Like a cattle fencing or something, or just something random?
Just out in the field, and and it's really hot, you know? A lot of fires start from welders.
I just heard one. I thought I heard the craziest one, and then so two more. One, the guy I bought the chipper from, he started a fire under his brush hog behind his tractor because the weeds are so tall. It created that friction underneath. They got wound up on the spindle and like a twig and a
fire starter.
And then another guy I just heard was digging with a backhoe, scraped a rock, and a spark started one.
With my landscape company, we do a lot of vegetation management where we just mow annual grasses, and it's a big concern. We carry water. It's I don't know. It's not ideal because but it's something. We carry water, fire extinguishers with our brush hogs, and even with our string trimmers.
String trimmer. Thanks for bringing that up. I was actually curious about a string trimmer because I was like, well, that's plastic. It hits a rock. That's not going to generate anything, but you still do.
It still can. It's pretty. It still can. People manage to do it every year. I mean, it's definitely. I've never done it. the most surprising one to me one time is I laid down a backpack blower and the exhaust started the little leaves on fire, and because it fell over.
Oh boy, yeah. So anything and everything. If your breath is hot, get some water by it, okay?
And even if you don't have water, I mean, dirt is really effective because dirt is really effective. So shovel and the right tools, you can shovel dirt on it because you're taking away oxygen, right?
Okay. Yeah. Well, I guess, man, this has been a lot of information. Thank you. I want to leave them with something though. If they're saying, okay, yeah, I want to do land clearing, what other companies, or if you don't mind sharing your company name again, that help with their individual, like coming out to fire, what you call firescaping, like making sure your landscape is good for fire prevention?
Yeah, it's firescaping, Firewise landscaping. There's a lot of good resources. Cal Fire has a lot of good resources.
Okay. Cal Fire.
My organization, Rescape California, is they have good resources, and they have links to Cal Fire and stuff, and more than that as well. And it just kind of gives you ideas on what you can do to be more fire safe.
Do work. All right. Thanks a lot.
To talk to people about this is the fire triangle, right? It's like it's air, heat, and oxygen. So if you get rid of oxygen, right, because you compacted it. Sorry, I said it.
Air,
that part.
Air, heat.